Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us in what I believe will be a spectacular engagement. With me on screen, you see 15 outstanding students from 5 middle schools in Livermore, California. And if you look closely, in addition to those students and myself, you'll see another adult. She's Camille Schrier, grad student, biochemist, lover of all things STEM, and yes, drum roll please, Miss America 2020. What we're going to be doing today on behalf of Quest, a brand new science center in Livermore, is we're connecting everyone to the value of science. I'm Susan Houghton, an advisory board member for Quest, and I'll be setting the stage for our next 45 minutes. For the past few years, Quest has been launching innovative and creative ways for all of us to question, Q, understand, U, explore, E, I think you know where I'm going with this, science and technology, S&T, hence the name Quest. The ultimate plan is to build a permanent home in downtown Livermore at the new Stockman's Park. If you want to know more about Quest and the journey we're taking, visit our website. And for those of you watching us live, feel free to engage with my Quest colleague, Amy Ames. She's managing chat on YouTube. Late last year, we learned the newly crowned Miss America, Camille Schrier, was a standout selection, not only for Miss America organization as a whole, but for science and the importance of STEM education. She is the very first scientist to be crowned Miss America. And for her talent, she did a science experiment, the catalytic decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, also known as elephant's toothpaste. Her platform this year is Mind Your Meds, where she's focusing on drug safety and abuse, a perfect focus in a pandemic year when we're all trying to learn more on how to protect ourselves on so many different levels. So it's very appropriate that we learned after the pandemic started that science did matter for Camille. And now today, she's with us. She's standing up for science. Camille's history-making tenure made us wonder, if you could ask Miss America anything, well, almost anything, what would you ask her? What should you ask her? We knew the brilliant students at Livermore could help us, so we reached out to our friends at the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, and they offered to engage their leadership classes. I want to personally thank all of the leadership students at Christensen, East Avenue, Joe Mitchell, Junction, and Mendenhall schools who came up with very creative and thought-provoking questions. Unfortunately, today we only have time for 15, but I think you'll agree. They've asked what's important. Our format is simple. There are 3 students from each of our 5 middle schools. They're taking turns asking Camille one of the questions their class came up with. For privacy purposes, our students are identified only by their first names and the school that they attend. And while there are just 3 representing each school, let me assure you, there's an entire class, an entire school, and probably an entire community watching and cheering them on. Because come on, how often do you get to ask Miss America a question? You can help congratulate our students on this achievement by cheering them on with your comments via chat. So without further ado, let's begin. Jameson, I'm throwing the ball to you with our very first question.
Hi, my name is Jameson and I go to Christensen Middle School. So my question was, what do you think the biggest problem facing teens is today? And how would or are you solving it?
That's a really great question. And also thank you, Susan, for that wonderful introduction. Jameson, I think that, it's not been so long that I've been a teen. I'm only 25. And when I think back upon even when I was a teenager and the problems that continue through on now, I think stress, number one, is stress. I know that you all have even more stress on you in terms of social media and technology than even I did when I was in middle school. And I feel for you all. And I think that it's really important that we manage that stress from a young age. Finding ways that we can manage our time better, focusing on things outside of, technology and social media, realizing that things that we see on the internet are not always true. That's important for us to recognize as young people. I know that even I still struggle with that often. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that faces teens today. And I don't envy you all dealing with that. Great question, Jameson. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katie. I go to Joe Mitchell, and my question is, who was your biggest mentor in STEM? Were your friends, family, and people who met you supportive of your STEM career? And did they think you couldn't do it because you're a girl?
I'm really, really lucky because I never felt like I couldn't do it because I was a girl. And I think that that was because my parents and the people around me were so supportive of everything that I wanted to do. I didn't have like one particular person that was my mentor in STEM. I think that that actually was almost better because every science teacher that I ever had and every person that I interacted with and I told them that I wanted to be a scientist was there to support me. So I didn't just have one particular person that stood out to me. It was every single person around me. And I really have to give a lot of credit to my parents because they took the time to allow me to explore and put me in places where I got to look at science even more. And so when we look at a place like Quest Science Center that's able to continue to do outreach with kids and parents and give us that extra opportunity to learn a little bit more about science, that was what I experienced as a young person. And that made me love science even more. I'm really lucky. I think that probably only once or twice in my life have I felt like people didn't look at me the same way because I was a girl in science. And I'm hoping that as you all go through your careers, that will continue to even get better so that you don't experience that at all. But we've made so much progress, and I'm really excited that we have. That's an awesome question. Thank you, Katie Jo.
Hi, my name's Noha. I'm from Junction, and my question is, what was your academic path to getting a doctorate in pharmacology?
Okay, this is a long story, so I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. I always loved science, we know that, but I never really knew what I wanted to do with it because when we think about STEM, science, technology, engineering, sometimes arts and math, there are a lot of jobs that fall into that category. So how do you pick which one that you want to do? Which one do you like the most? So I thought originally I wanted to be a chef. Then I thought maybe I wanted to be a food scientist. Then I thought about being a marine biologist, then maybe a meteorologist, then maybe I was going to be a chemical engineer. And I tried all of these different things. But when I got to college, I realized that, the engineering thing wasn't super for me. I tried it. But then I found a degree program called systems biology. And we used math and computer science to solve biological and medical problems. And I was like, you know what? I really like medicine, but I really don't like touching people. So I don't want to be like a doctor that has to touch people, but I love the idea of medicines. And what better person to talk about medicines than a pharmacist? So I decided to go into pharmacy school, and hopefully I can work for a company that makes medicines after I'm done with all of this and after I graduate with my doctor of pharmacy in a couple years. So it's been a long path, but the reason I share that is because it's really important to explore different things. It's important to figure out what you do like, but it's also important to figure out what you don't like. It's okay if you try something and you don't like it. That's totally okay too. That was something that I had to learn as I grew up. And it was okay that I changed what I wanted to do a lot because it ended up giving me a career that I was really interested in and helped me figure out where my skills and my talents and passions all ended up. And it set me on the right path. So don't be afraid to try something new. Great question.
Hi, my name is Miley. I'm from Mendenhall Middle School. And my question is, how can you teach a wider range of people about science?
That's a really good question. I think that for me, one of the ways that I can teach like a wide variety of people about science is I literally talk about science at every event that I go to. And when it's funny, I'm Miss America, right? So I'll go to things that aren't always science related because not every Miss America is a scientist. And there's some things that all Miss Americas do. So maybe I'm in a parade or maybe I go to a formal event or a fashion show and I end up finding myself talking about science there. And part of the reason that I do that is because one of my favorite catchphrases is science is all around us. And it is every single day. No matter where you go, who you talk to, science touches what you're doing in one way or another. So I love to relate that to people. So I think that even in situations where you think that science isn't involved, reminding people that science is behind so much of what they're living every day is a great way to teach so many different people about science. And even people that think that they don't like science typically will be pretty interested if you tell them, you know what, hey, I know you're doing my hair right now, but you're using hairspray that is actually created by cosmetic chemists that made that formulation. They packaged that. Someone had to design that. An engineer had to be part of that. Science touches it, every single thing that we do. That's, I think, one of the greatest ways to relate science to everyone. And that's something that I get to do every day. And I encourage other people to do. Look for the science around them every day and explore. That's definitely a great way to engage new people with science.
Hi, my name is Michaela from East Avenue Middle School. Shout out to all the amazing teachers there. And my question is, did you ever get bullied growing up? And if so, what would you say to those bullies now?
Michaela, that's a really good question. I am really lucky because I don't feel like I got bullied growing up. I mean, part of it, I think, is because I'm kind of like a tough cookie. So when people make fun of me or do certain things that might be mean, I'm able to brush it off a little bit better. So I think that sometimes even if people were mean to me, maybe I didn't notice or didn't care. But I will say I got teased a little bit. I wouldn't call it full on bullying, but so my last name is Schrier, right? And when I was in high school, everyone used to call me the Schry Hard because apparently I tried too hard. And it frustrated me because I'm like, okay, the whole purpose of being in high school is, to be successful. So then, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to get really good grades so I could go wherever I wanted to college. And I would get made fun of because I tried too hard, because I wanted to do extracurricular activities and be involved with certain things and then do work outside of school. And I wasn't really interested in doing a lot of that social stuff or getting into trouble or any of those kinds of things. And so I got made fun of for that. But I think that, looking back to all of those people that called me a Schry Hard, yes, I am indeed a Schry Hard. And I did a lot of extra things and it helped me become Miss America. So keep on laughing. But I would definitely say of anyone who is getting bullied, it's a difficult situation, but to remember your own worth and stay confident in who you are, because no matter what people say to you, you get to make the decision of how that makes you feel. And you can control your own destiny and prove all those people wrong. And if you're sure of yourself, then when people say silly things to you, you can just say, you can think what you want to think, but I know that I'm worth it. And I know that I'm doing what I need to do. So I'm lucky that I haven't had a difficult situation with that, but I know that so many people do. So thank you, Michaela.
Hi, I'm Olivia Schaefer from Joe Mitchell. My question is, I'm a biracial student in a mostly white community. I want to help teach people about racial equality / Black Lives Matter. Do you have any organizations or any recommendations for kids that I can get involved with to make a difference?
I don't know any particular organizations that focus on racial equality within science, but I think that one of the biggest things that you can do, Olivia, is to show all of your peers and share your background with them and show them why it doesn't matter what color you are or what background that you have, that you can be a successful scientist as well. There are so many fantastic women and people of color who have been really, really successful in the sciences. And so I think looking in some of those, some of the history and teaching and sharing your experiences is one of the best things that you can do. I'll definitely have to look into that because there definitely should be organizations that can help with that, but none that I've really had experience with yet because this is new to me too. And this has become, it's come to a different light this year. So thank you for bringing that up. I will definitely look into that and we'll talk about that in a little bit too. So I'll look at that. Thank you, Olivia. You guys are doing such a great job. Thanks for all of your questions as well. Thanks, guys.
Hi, my name is Zayden, and I'm from Christensen Middle School. And my question is, what are your thoughts on climate change?
I like that. And I also like your dinosaur or creature that you have in front of you. Super cool. Climate change is hard. When we look at our Earth and how things are changing, it's definitely, you can see the effects. even just, here at my home, it's been so warm recently. It's like unseasonably warm. We can feel the earth changing. I do a lot of work with, of course, chemistry. That's my favorite subject. And when we think of even how acid rain happens from pollution, I know that you guys are farther out in California on the West Coast. There's a lot more pollution, I think, in some of those areas than there are closer to where I live. So it's not as much of an issue, but we still have a lot of air pollution. I'm in a much more rural area. And when we see how it affects our environment, we see how it affects the temperature. I think it's a real thing that we have to address. And it's something that, we see a lot in politics, but there's a lot that we can do at home as well as people to impact climate change. I'm a big advocate for recycling, and my family probably thinks I'm crazy because I use like reusable cups and metal straws, and I try not to throw things away, or I try to figure out the right way to dispose of things. Those are little things that we can all do. We can all make an impact. And if we all can maybe carpool, or maybe we can, drive our cars less, or we can take public transportation, we can recycle, we can use less, we can buy less. Those are all little things that if we all do, it can add up to really give us a better environment. And of course, I'm concerned for our earth as from a science perspective, as I get older and I have children, and what world will they live in? So I think that we all need to have healthy habits for our earth, just like we have healthy habits for ourselves.
Hi, I'm Trish from East Avenue Middle School. And my question is, of all the cities and states you've been to, which one is your favorite?
That's a really good question. And I like your periodic table in the back of your shot there. Of all the cities and states, okay, this is kind of a different one. I got the chance to go to Louisiana this year, and that was a state that I had never been to. I have a goal to be able to go to every one of the 50 states throughout my lifetime, but I haven't been able to do that this year because of COVID. So I went to Louisiana, and I got to not just go to New Orleans, which is kind of the city that everyone thinks of in Louisiana. I got to go to southeastern Louisiana in the bayou, like where the alligators live and where the swamps are. And I got to go out there in a boat and actually go fishing in the ocean. And I had so much fun. I got to meet the local fishermen and people that work off the water. And it's also the area that was really hard hit with Hurricane Katrina. And I got to hear their stories and get to know the locals. And it was just one of the trips that touched me the most. So definitely go to Southern Louisiana. It's a great place to be. That was such a cool trip. That was definitely my favorite place I've been this year.
Hi, my name is Savannah. I go to Mendenhall. And my question is, did you ever feel like you had to change yourself to compare to other Miss America contestants?
Great question. And you have a Virginia Tech sweatshirt on, so go Hokies. I never felt like I had to change myself because of anybody else. And it's funny because when I decided to compete for Miss America, I specifically went in with the attitude that I was never going to change who I was to try to win. And that even if I didn't win, because I was just being myself, that I was okay with that. I think that that was an important outlook for myself to have, because sometimes we get pressured into feeling like we have to be changing who we are because of other people around us. But the thing about Miss America is that you're chosen because of who you are, not because you're fitting into some kind of a box. And I think a lot of people, no matter if it's competing for Miss America or trying to get a job or trying to go into college, I mean, there's so many different examples of this that sometimes we feel like we have to be somebody else. But the funny thing is, I was 100% my weird, nerdy science self at Miss America, and I still won. So it's really important. That whole process is important when you think about, okay, I was 100% true to who I was and I still won. And oftentimes in our life, we are the most successful when we are true to who we are. So definitely never change for anybody else. Unless your parents tell you to do something different, then you probably have to listen to them. But don't let other people influence you unless you trust them, or unless you're asking for help or an opinion. People will give you their opinions sometimes without you asking. And I felt that a lot this year too. But staying true to who I was throughout this entire process has made it all that more successful, and a lot more enjoyable. So it's been really fun, but definitely don't change who you are.
Hello, my name is Rainer Gillette from Joe Mitchell, and I was wondering, did becoming a celebrity help or hamper your career in science, and how do other scientists treat you because of it?
Well, you're cool because you consider me a celebrity, even though I feel like I'm not. I feel like more than anything, I'm kind of like a politician or a lobbyist more than like a celebrity. Like people sometimes will know who I am, but I don't have the kind of life that a celebrity would have. And I'm kind of grateful for that, because that's a lot of pressure to have on somebody. But I will say I was a little surprised because Miss America always has this tradition of being this really girly thing where you wear crowns and evening gowns. And I wasn't sure how other scientists would react to that because it's very different. But here's the thing. People in science were so excited because a lot of scientists feel like their work kind of goes unnoticed. There's a lot of behind the scenes research, and maybe there's a lot of people working really, really hard and it doesn't get recognized. But to have someone like Miss America be able to talk about how cool science is and how important it is, I think was really encouraging, especially for female scientists who felt like they never had someone in, pop culture or the public space that they could relate to. There were older women who were in science who were thrilled. And I was so afraid that they'd be my biggest critics, especially because I only have a bachelor's degree in science. I don't even have a doctorate yet. And a lot of people who are in research have doctorates and degrees that are much higher than I. So I was like, I don't even know if I can do this job well enough compared to you all. But the support has been so wonderful. And so I do not think that it has hampered my science career at all. I think it's really helped. It's also given me the opportunity to learn so much more about science and how it affects our world, how it affects our society, and has given me the chance to be able to, express myself a little bit better, speak in front of a group better than I did before. And I think it's only going to make my career more successful. So the risk paid off, right? It's been a really cool experience. And I love interacting with other scientists this year. Great question. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lexi. I'm from Junction. Shout out to my leadership teacher, Mrs. Perry, for helping me get where I am today.
Awesome.
But what does success look like to you? What have you failed at or found difficult?
Ooh, that's a big question. Thank you, Lexi. I think that ultimately success to me is learning through adversity, which of course we can talk about that in terms of failures. But despite failing at some point, staying true to who you are. And I talked through that a little bit with Savannah's question in staying true to yourself. Being successful is always remaining true to who you are throughout, no matter what you go through. I've had plenty of failures throughout my life. I originally went to college at a place that I thought I was going to love, and it was the worst experience of my life. I didn't like where I was. I wasn't doing well academically. I wasn't doing well socially. And I had worked my whole life to go to college at a really, really good school. And I got into that really, really good school. And then I got there and it was horrible. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I've worked my whole life for this and now I have to give it all up. Like, what do I do now? And the thing is that if I hadn't said, okay, this doesn't work for me because there's something that's not right. It's not fitting who I am. It's not fitting what I need. And so I need to take the choice to go and leave and go somewhere else. If I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have ended up where I am today. And I'm glad that I did that. There's so many situations where we think that something is going to work out for us and it doesn't. And that's okay because I learned a lot from that situation. I learned what I needed as a person, but I also learned how important it was for me to listen to myself. And listening to what I needed kind of gave me the confidence to know that if things didn't work out, that I could change my circumstances. And that's something that I think that we all get wrapped up in. I know I'm really stubborn. I'll say that. So when I say I'm going to do something, I'm like, I'm going to do this. And then when it doesn't work out, sometimes I feel like a failure because I'm like, I said I was going to do this. But sometimes it's okay to not follow through in particular situations where maybe your opinion changed, maybe your perspective changes. It's okay to change what you're doing. Kind of like I talked about, there were so many different careers that I thought I wanted to do, and I changed them, and that's okay too. So definitely, I know your original question was about success. I think when I think about my own success, going through those processes and figuring out who I was the real success through all of that, all of the trials and tribulations. And that's something that I hope that you'll all be able to explore and figure out just like I did. Maybe your path will be a little bit straighter than mine, or maybe it won't. Maybe it'll even be more crooked, and that's okay too.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah and I'm from Junction. My question is, what hobbies and or interests do you have besides science?
I love that question. When I actually have free time, which is very few and far between right now, one of my favorite things to do is actually cooking and baking. I talk about this often, and it's one of the reasons why I really liked science to begin with. I know you said anything other than science, but I guess it's not really super science related. I love cooking and baking anything, especially baking. I used to watch the Food Network like every day. Like that was the channel I always turned on when I was a kid because I was so interested in that, like cake decorating, doing all of that stuff. But also just kind of like coming up with like breads and yeasted dough recipes were super, super exciting to me. So I do a lot of that. I have a dog now, so I like to play with my dog and go for walks and go outside. I'm definitely an outdoor person, so I'll take my dog fishing. I'll go outside and maybe fish with my dad, or I'll go for a hike, and those are all things that I really like to do. I also have 2 cats, and so I hang out with them too. Definitely try to do some relaxing things when I do have free time because my job is not always the most relaxing, but those are definitely some of my hobbies and fun things that I like to do. Good question.
Hi, my name is Isla from Mendenhall Middle School, and my question is, if you could make one major difference in the world, what would it be?
Ooh, I only get to pick one? I think that one of the things that I would do if I could make one major difference in the world would be, gosh, there's so many things. I can't pick one. I think that I would have everyone at least have a little bit more empathy. I know that this year, especially in 2020, we've gone through so much as a world, right? We think about all of, we see some violence on TV, we see protesting, we see racial and social injustice happening, we see a virus that's taken over our whole country and a lot of our world. And I think a lot of people, especially when you're on a computer and you can just type comments without kind of having to talk it through with people, people can really kind of be mean to other people. People can really lack understanding and the opportunity for people to really show, their heart. And I think that if we all had a little bit more kind of love and empathy for other people, we could all be a lot more successful in so many ways, whether or not it's with our friends or at work. But that is something that we could all gain a lot from. So I think if I could do one thing, I would give everyone a little bit more patience, empathy, and understanding this year, because it's been difficult for everyone. But that's if I had to pick one thing, but I could give you a list of 10 of other things I want to do. But if I could only pick one, I think it would be that.
Hi, I'm Jackson. I go to Christensen Middle School, and my question was, would you rather find the cure to COVID or the cure to cancer?
Okay, Jackson, that's a hard one. Both. But I think I'm going to have to say cancer. I mean, COVID, someone's already taken care of COVID, right? So we're probably going to have a vaccine pretty soon. And so although we can't necessarily, we can treat COVID. There's not like a cure for COVID, but we might be able to prevent COVID, working on that. But cancer is one of those things that I think is so unpredictable. It's not something that we can like stop the spread of like we can with COVID. It can be so random. It can run in families and it can happen so quickly. And I think if we could have a cure for that, it would just be life-changing for so many people and something we've worked for so long. would love to be involved with that. But of course, COVID's also important because I would also like to be able to leave my house and not be worried with COVID. I think we all do, but I think that's coming soon. Great question.
Hi, my name's Lizzie and I'm from East Avenue. And my question is, how heavy is the crown?
Okay, Lizzie, the crown is not too heavy. I wish I had it here, but I told you all before we began, it's actually in for repair right now. The crown is made of actually a brass interior, and it's silver plated and it's soldered together with a tin alloy metal, and it has 792 crystals in it. And it has a little bit of weight to it, but it's not too heavy. It actually is light enough that usually when I have it on my head for a couple hours, I actually forget that it's there sometimes. It doesn't like dig into my head. It just kind of sits there. It's probably a pound is my guess. Not too heavy. The box that it sits in is heavier than the crown is.
Wow. Well, Camille, thank you. That is our very last question. And unfortunately, our time with you is over. It just went by so quickly. Students, thank you to all in your classes as well, everyone in Livermore who came up with these great questions. Camille, and thank you for reminding us about what's really important. Your answers were fabulous today, and we applaud all that you're doing for our country and all that you're doing to further science. I would encourage everyone who's watching today that if you enjoyed this presentation, join us for another Quest engagement on Tuesday, December 1st at 4 o'clock when Camille Schrier joins 3 other remarkable women in a very vibrant conversation. We'll touch on their careers and what we can all do to pay it forward and ensure the next generation has a seat at the table. In addition, as part of Quest's partnership with Camille, she's recorded a number of nature videos that focus on the importance of environmental science. You can find those on the Quest website. Today's presentation would not have been possible without our fabulous partnership with the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. And I want to give a special and sincere thanks to Philomena Rambo, all of the leadership teachers who helped the students with this program, as well as District Superintendent Kelly Bowers. Fabulous partnership. Our thanks as well to Amos Productions, who helped us with the technical end of this. And a very special thanks to the Quest planning team for all things Miss America they've done this year. Amy Ains, June Yu, and Ellen Pensky of Bumblebee Marketing. I'm Susan Houghton, and I encourage you to visit the Quest Science Center website to find out more how you can connect with and stand up for science. It really does matter. Thanks for joining us. And everyone, that's all of you students, Miss America, Camille too, it's time. We're gonna say goodbye and let's do that Rose Queen wave. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day.